Ya peor, claramente. Félix Brezo es ingeniero en informática, ingeniero en organización industrial por la Universidad de Deusto. Es máster en seguridad de la información, máster en análisis de inteligencia, máster en derecho de Internet y nuevas tecnologías, ¿vale? De las comunicaciones, y doctor en ingeniería informática y telecomunicación. Hasta junio del 2013 era investigador de seguridad en S3 Lab de la Universidad de Deusto. Y ahora es analista de inteligencia para Telefónica Digital, además de colaborador.
Telefonica and for the digital leads, and he is investigating on the perspective theme. Yaiza, now you have the floor. I don't have your bio. Yaiza, I am a BA degree in journalism. Now I'm working in digital Telefonica. I'm working for, I have a master in logistics and economy for the defense, a master in internet law and new technologies. I'm sharing many researches on security and safety. Thank you everybody for your big welcome for us. It's a privilege to share with you this auditorium with all of you. In the remaining 1 hour, we are going to show you the different attacks that the users of eWallet can be suffered. Very firstly, we'll see a definition of what portfolio means. We will see the different types of portfolios depending on the private keys and passwords, the different types of storage, different attacks against the portfolios, their implications. With 125 euros at stake, we will implement these examples. Very firstly, concept of portfolio. A portfolio is a file where you can format the private passwords. Is the wallets. This is my money. This is not other people's money. So the different wallets, as you can see, the generical wallets, their private passwords would be defined by a random number. These values and problems, these wallets are so safe as the generator of random numbers. The algorithm used to sign the transactions as well. The big inconvenience or drawback is you can lose the private password, and this guy lost around 40 cents of Bitcoin, and he cannot recover for now. Second type of wallet, vanity wallet, generated in a very similar way as the random wallets. Here we're going to introduce an additional element, is a template or pattern. We want this pattern to have the address. We create two private addresses, and we get a positive result. If not, we are persistently generating new pairs of addresses. The advantage is that from a safety and security point, we are going to get it robust and complex. And another additional advantage is that we are going to send over to the rest of the people more amicable and friendly wallet, but the cost is the computation of these wallets. For wallets with one rooted, it's going to take us around 10 hours. Now let's move on to the mental wallets, generated from a sentence, code, a date, a word. So what are the big drawbacks for these mental wallets? There is not necessary to storage the private keywords or password at any place, but the drawback, even though it's easy to remember that this private word, is going to be easy for other people monitorizing dictionaries in order to create private password. The fourth type of wallets are multi-signature wallets. Unlike the previous ones, they don't have a private associated password. They are three addresses are used, until you get a multi-signature address. In the case of Bitcoin, will start by number 3, whereas the normal ones start by number 1. If I find myself share an address and we don't trust each other to send Bitcoins on this shared address, the two people need to sign it. With this, the process is more laborious and complicated because you need to create transaction 1 signed by the other person. It's messier, but new actors, referees or arbiters will arbitrate and mediate just in case of accidents. Let's see the types of storage of these private key words. You can see the file wallet available for the user at any PC. The second place, you have the mental wallets in which the user we only have to store in his head the word generated by the private password. And thirdly, we have the wallets on the cloud, which is a third party in charge of storing these keywords and passwords. Now let's see the vectors of attack depend on how we store the wallets. Local wallets depend on the client we're using, Electron, Bitcoin. By default, roots for this wallet, system wallet, Bitcoin, if it's Linux system in the folder Bitcoin. Generally speaking, these clients and customers install on the computers will allow us to perform various consults and consultations to create batch-based transactions. An attacker can use it when access our equipment to dump and export the content of the private password of one address by dumping, exporting into another third equipment, and wait for verifying if this account has a balance. If the wallet is cipher, part of the this information can be checked, and at a certain moment in time, if we want to perform transactions, a password will be asked to us. And we will do brutal attacks and to access the password, and we can move the money to a different type of accounts. Lastly, the last step we can do is to recipher again the wallet for the legitimate owner can access again. An attacker to steal these files needs to identify the files through this searcher. You can see on screen. So we do thorough research and search and some other criteria such as the user. We can list different candidates connected on the network which can be potential victims. Once we have accessed these systems, besides stealing the documents, we can identify the equipments which are running nodes with Bitcoin. We can identify data files with wallets and all the stuff. We are focusing all this thing to the attacks to wallet point that. But if you have a client or attack, there is no one single way. We can start from a shop accepting bitcoins and connect it on the network. This is going to have a peers.dat file where this guy is going to download all the things, and this can compromise the file peers.dat. So an attacker controlling the nodes to those is connected. The client can make that third-party transactions are perceived as valid. Firstly, we have to now to consider the mental wallets, process to identify the mental wallets. Firstly, if these areas contain bitcoins, the attacker will be there to steal the money. This proceeding will be carried out, and we have we have identified 204 dictionaries. We have identified 4 million words, 4 million addresses and private passwords, and we discovered that 17,000 addresses received bitcoins in 4,000 transactions, adding up in total 37,000 movements with these directions and addresses. Hypothetically speaking, many people stole money from these accounts. Hypothetically speaking, this is only a hypothesis in our study. We can see a timeline on screen that proves when this money was transferred to another accounts in bitcoins and in dollars. In principle, specifically, we may have taken around $3,000 at the moment we took the money out of this wallet. But it should have waited for the critical value of these bitcoins. We would have been sold the bitcoins worth of $20,000. We have done this with very limited and restricted resources. That's why we wanted to monitorize if there were people checking these accounts. That's why we put on some baits. We put some baits and we transferred money, and just in 10 seconds, only we waited for 10 seconds and see what happened. The different addresses, addresses 2 only took us 3 seconds. Address 3 took us 5 hours. 15 hours, I correct myself, 15 hours for the network to correct everything. Transfer the money, transfer our money. These are small amounts of money, but they're waiting for us. When we transferred money to these accounts, in 2 of them, in just 10 seconds afterwards, there was a transaction. In the third of these accounts, there was not one single transaction, but even 3 transactions in the next 3 minutes. 3 people were claiming the bitcoins we have transferred. This is true in a very different way. Let's see how the chain of blocks is included in this transaction of bitcoins. Let's see how we can prioritize the operations on the block. In the block, there are the very 50 kilobytes reserved for those having a bigger priority. Based upon this formula, which includes 3 variants. Firstly, the transfers amounts, the order in the block, the number of block added after the last transaction, the older, the more priority. And the third exercise is in bytes. The bigger the size, the fewer the priorities. How can we include this in the block? Commissions miners like to include commissions that are affordable and you can benefit from this commission. If we take this into account and we apply data from the previous information, if in the orange attacker perform the transaction and the money we have transferred to this account was transferred to the attacker's account without additional information. 10 seconds afterwards, the maturity or the age of this money was the same. The blue or the magenta attacker made a very similar approach with a commission. He was ready to earn less money, having a priority. And the third attacker made an approach very differently. He did, instead of transferring the money we moved to that from an account of himself, he moved a lot of money, 7,000 millions of cartridges. After some seconds later, this transaction has a bigger priority, considerably bigger than the rest of one. Once the transactions were confirmed, the third one transaction was the best. If third parties would have accepted the other transactions, there would have been a transaction to buy a computer and another product. 6 hours later, they would have seen that the valid transaction finally included in the chain of blocks would have been the third one. So the bitcoins and the remaining ones wouldn't have existed. They would have incurred a triple expense. So how the transactions on the clouds are compromised.
2014, we identified a campaign for stealing platforms on Bitcoins. These dates coincide with the moment where Bitcoin achieved the greatest value in the market. Considering the information that a generic botnet recovers, how far could we have gone with all the platforms that we analyzed? Platforms require a username, a password, and that is enough to access the platform, with the exception of those platforms that have activated a two-stage process. Well, in all the platforms that we have analyzed, those in green are the ones that could have been accessed with no problem. But is that information enough to make transactions? Well, actually, the same as it happens with the banking sector. Sometimes when you want to make transfers, they ask you for, they require additional information such as PIN numbers, or you receive an SMS with a code. So some of these platforms that we access only with the password is stolen through a generic botnet, we could have made our transaction. However, others had higher security levels, and that would not allow us to carry out a generic attack. Still, we have a list that included, well, that only with generic or default information we could have been attacked. Right, and then attackers also know about that. They are exploiting and using traditional use techniques that have proven very useful in the banking sector to steal this type of currency. At the end of the day, monetization is virtually, well, immediate, okay? So, and it's not only about phishing campaigns, but also it's about files for configuration, Zeus, and then, well, aimed at attacking Bitcoin platforms right away. So, now implications for all the stakeholders involved in here. So starting off by users. Users will have to decide whether they want to use mental wallets for the generation of their passwords or not. Actually, well, we recommend them not to do it because we've been installing in 10 seconds. Then users will have to decide whether they want to use devices connected to the network, or they prefer to have cold storage for their keys and passwords. Actually, if they trust the third party, they should also be aware that this is not just an act of faith, because they don't know what these third parties are doing with the passwords. If they decide on this type of platform, at least they should have all the security systems in place, activated, and they also should use the two-stage verification system. And we always recommend that we said that the most secure wallet is the multi-signature wallet, meaning that there will not be any third party taking out or stealing data without our consent or permission. And then, well, from the viewpoint of attackers, traditional techniques of banking malware will also be valid, and not only for phishing campaigns and for using malware such as use, but we want to be able to build a password which is, well, as close as possible to the real one. And also, the characteristics of these cryptocurrencies will allow a number of attacks, for instance, isolation attacks. And then also, using automatic tools will also allow attackers behind botnets or those who have a good understanding of the network to carry out an artificial hiddening or hitting the currency artificially just to increase the value of it. Also, companies will have the opportunity to provide or to supply that security products, especially products to detect phishing campaigns, malware, or suspicious mobile application. And actually, if Bitcoin becomes more and more implemented in society, if markets accept Bitcoin more and more, they will require products that to reduce waiting times in transaction and also to identify suspicious transactions. And also last, they will also offer arbitrage services for the resolution of the conflicts that we mentioned before, conflicts with eWallet. So we wouldn't like to finish our presentation without giving you the opportunity to experiment with what we experimented. In terms of the mind or mental wallets, well, we have set a number of challenges for you. So if you generate a mental wallet from the rooted con word, well, the first one who achieves that will get €5. Second, if you generate a mind wallet from the name of one of the speakers of rooted, well, you will be getting this time €20. So if you have the time, you may give it a go. And then also, together with the help of the organizers, we have uploaded the wallet access 4064, and then, well, that one, well, if any of you recover the password that it was lost, okay, you will get €100. All right, so if you have any questions, we will be happy to take them.
Ahí nos lo han quitado.
¿Tenemos alguna pregunta identificada? Igual que hay gente mineando, se podría montar un esfuerzo colaborativo para...
Well, perhaps we could work, well, because we have people doing mining, okay, well, perhaps we could do something in a collaborative manner to recover the money. So actually, we got the dictionary, but they had like 7 million words, like overrate or very common words. If we were to work more on that, actually, if we just write down Toshina Yakamoto, that is already a Bitcoin. Bitcoin last night it was €250, which is a significant amount. Well, have you tried to run that in a Google or Amazon instance and to compare the money that you hypothetically recover with the money that you spent on running it? Well, we didn't do that exercise. Well, to do that, to put it in practice, we have a problem. We have to take the money. And if it is someone else's money, that is a problem. As far as I know, that money does not exist. Okay, well, I would just look other way, okay? So, any questions? No, we didn't lose lots of money. Actually, transactions, yeah, were carried out with a small amount of money. Well, I lost more money than you. Right. If there are no questions, we'd like to thank you very much for your talk. Thank you.